Alright, this is the point where we click the button and make sure that everything's working. Still got half an hour to go, but, you know. I'd like to be proactive. Well, more proactive than I was last week with the impromptu stream. Now this is a challenge. I'm hacking Twitter on the computer I'm live streaming this from, and I can't use the screen reader because if I use the stream reader I have to pause the music, and then, you know, you end up hearing what I'm reading, and that's not ideal. But that's okay. There. Alright. Anyway. Alright, so before we start this thing off, it starts at 2:30. I misclicked the button. Let's tweet this out. Oh god, I hear my own voice. It's a good thing I started the stream. Let's go ahead and mute that. Why would that not be muted by default? Whatever floats your boat, YouTube. Wait, what? Mute. Oh, that's where it's coming from. Okay. I had it open in another tab. Alright, so, like I said, this is not the actual stream, I'm just testing things out right now. What I want to know is, if I go ahead and do this on my, okay, my laptop does seem to be sending the video signal perfectly, that's great. So that's one thing I wanted to test out. If all went well, you guys would have seen me zoom in for a bit. Alright. Oh my god, why is SN on the Discord server, one of our devs keeps creating threads inside of panels that should not have threads? You can go ahead and, you know, turn that off. If I can figure out how to turn that off. I don't understand Discord threads. Oh my god. They have noobified the permissions screen and it's so annoying to get to the advanced permissions now. Too many clicks. Just let me get to my permissions screen and modify permissions. I don't need a friendly tutorial. Alright. I don't want people sending messages in these, yeah, create public threads, don't allow. Create private threads, don't allow. I don't understand why that would be allowed in the first place, by default. It sounds like something you should have to opt into. Alright, so we'll delete this thread. And we'll do the same thing for announcements. Yes, I'm administrating my Discord server before I start this stream. Deal with it. This is kind of pressing. I don't want people creating random threads in the middle of, I don't want people creating threads, that's all. Because it's annoying whenever I get a random ping, and it's just someone creating a Discord thread in an announcement panel. No, don't. Do it for muted and staff too. Don't I? Alright, that's good to go. So we'll delete this thread. Okay. So that gave me a few minutes of time there. That didn't take too long to do. So now I'm looking... The one downside to the way I'm doing this now is I'm managing the stream completely through OBS now, which is something you can do. Previously, you couldn't do that with YouTube streams, and now you can, so I can see the chat and everything inside of OBS instead of having to go into my browser. It's really freaking cool, except I can't zoom in at all. So, great. Vaden, you are not late, and neither am I. All I did was misconfigure the stream start time. I kind of blasted through the setup screen and completely forgot to set the the start time to 2:30 p.m. That's my fault. Audio is louder than voice. What? How is the audio louder than... Is it because the microphone is that far away from me? Oh god. Oh god. This is great. I'm having audio problems in the middle of... Oh god. I'm not exactly talking loud either. But what if I turn it down even more? How's that for music volume? Well, it's not gonna matter anyway, because he's not watching anymore. Damn. Alright. This is freaky. This is really strange. I can see you in the chat. But according to YouTube, nobody's watching the stream. What? YouTube. Fix your analytics. Then again, I do have the stream paused inside of... Yeah, but that shouldn't do anything. I shouldn't have to watch the stream inside the dashboard to see people live. That's dumb. Well, I guess I'm just going to ignore the YouTube analytics because it just says people are not watching the stream. But I can tell, based on, you know, the chat that people are talking. And obviously you need to be watching this stream in order to participate in the chat. That's... YouTube is drunk. That's great. I love that. Vaden in the chat says YouTube, owned and tightly knitted with Google, the advertising company, cannot manage analytics. It also cannot manage a basic sense of how communities work. Friggin... They removed the dislike counter, and I know that's old news at this point, but it's also still dumb news, and I'm still gonna comment on it. Yeah, see, here's the thing. Removing a dislike counter isn't gonna stop someone from disliking something, nor is it gonna stop them from telling you about it. The only difference is instead of clicking a big button, laptop went to sleep there, it's gonna become a comment. And the comment is gonna be way more hurtful because suddenly, instead of it being a number increasing, it's now words. Also, I can confidently say that the dislike to like ratio on my videos, and I did say dislike first, because I'm being self-deprecating, has not affected my mental health at all. So that's like, that's not a valid argument, YouTube. Just throwing that out there. Vaden, I just say dislike in the comments now. Yeah, if you want to, like, improve people's mental health by removing a feature, remove the comments section, because that's where the actual awful stuff happens. But no, I'm gonna remove an actually useful metric that'll tell you how good a video is. They still can't take the L from when they did corporate rewind, I mean YouTube rewind. I've not watched a single YouTube rewind episode. I know what they're generally about, but I have no interest in watching them. If I'm being honest, I barely watch YouTube outside of like Finest Tech Tips and God Crucify Me Reddit videos. And it's mostly when I'm trying to fall asleep. Occasionally I'll watch NerdyAnt64, he's cool. Anyway, we're getting almost there. 10 minutes to go before we start this stream officially. So, hey, I got a like! It wants to show me my likes, but it doesn't want to show me that people are watching the stream. Okay, whatever floats your boat, YouTube. Whatever... Use your tube. Oh, that was horrible. I didn't drink as much coffee as I did before starting the previous live stream, so do realize I am a little more tired, but I'm still awake. And I'm awake enough to code. I'm not awake enough to be a little snarky like I used to be. Aiden says, well, glad I'm not the only one who watches NerdyAnt64 unironically. Yeah, I mean, I only watch him occasionally, because I just don't watch YouTube that often. It's sort of like game development and actually gaming with me. Like, I do play games, but not often. And it's mostly because when I am playing games, it's because I'm trying to come up with ideas for what I want to make in terms of a game. I don't really very often play games just to play games or to relax or to relieve stress. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll hop on City Skylines and try to build a massive grid of houses, because that's all I can build in City Skylines at this point. But most of the time, when I want to relax, I want to write code. And when I want to do YouTube stuff, I want to make YouTube videos. I don't want to watch them. So I'm weird like that. Alright, 2:20. This is... See, I want to start the stream now, but I did say it would start at 2:30, and I imagine that's when most people are gonna show up. I'm just watching all the different chats and everything that I posted it in. I did miss one chat, though. LBP Union. Let's go attack them. Hopefully M88 will be fine with this. Oh my god, I misread that. I misread that as I have a YouTube ad addiction, kinda, and I'm like, what? Who is watches YouTube ads and nothing else? Like, who goes on the YouTube and just goes, oh, I'm gonna watch a freaking, I don't know, a commercial for a bank. Okay, I say that, and it's oddly specific because that's something that I do. Alright. I think we're almost at the point where I can start this thing. One thing I will go and do real quick is there's gonna be this annoying thing that Windows does, where, and I have to be careful. I just leaked my full name, whatever, it's not hard to find. Literally, I just look on the Trixel Creative server, Trixel Creative community, yeah. I don't want to change my brightness, I just want to change my display settings without leaking my personal information. See, that's the thing with Windows 10 and Windows 11, is like every time you go to do something in settings, your entire personal information is like on display right in the sidebar, and I don't like that. Like, stop. What I'm looking for right now is I want to make sure that my computer doesn't fall asleep, and I cannot remember how to do that in Windows 11? I know there's a way to do it, I know it's somewhere in display settings. Or it might be, power and sleep. That might make more sense. Yes, I'm totally live streaming myself, configuring my computer. Remote desktop? What? No! That's not at all what I wanted. What? God, YouTube search is just awful. Or, not YouTube search, Windows search. I'm tired. Power save settings might be where I want to look. I don't know why I would get results for remote desktop, because this laptop runs Windows 10 or Windows 11 Home. It doesn't. It has the client, but I can't start a session on this computer. It's not something I can do. Screen and sleep is what I want. I'm just trying to make it so that my laptop doesn't fall asleep when I'm trying to like narrate something and I'm inactive on the keyboard, because that keeps happening and it messes with my capture card. But it's a laptop, so of course it's going to constantly try to fall asleep on you, so that it gives you the illusion of having 18,000 hours of battery life, when in reality it only has 2. And what I'm also gonna do is make sure that we are on best performance, because this is gonna be a game dev stream, so that's gonna make sure that my CPU is running optimally. There we go. We're getting close to that time. In fact, we're so close to that time that I might as well gonna round up to the nearest 10 and say that it is 2:30 right now. So we're gonna start this whole thing. So, actually, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, what I'm doing is I have my main dev workstation running the live stream. That means I can manage everything through OBS. I can start and stop the stream and everything. The music you're hearing is coming from a browser window on my dev workstation, but then the actual thing you're seeing on screen is my laptop. So if you pay close attention to the microphone, you can probably hear a different sounding keyboard. That's because I'm typing on my laptop. So we're going to be running this from my laptop, and part of my reason for that is because, one, there is literally no way I can leak Restitched on here because the source code just does not compile on my laptop. And secondly, it's more ergonomic than the last stream. The last stream I had my hat running off the laptop, and I had to do this... project already opened. Okay, it's already open in the background, okay. I had to do this thing where I had my hair raised up as high as it could go, and I had my computer screen raised as high as it could go, and, it was just not a fun time. It was very difficult to type, but now I can look at my laptop at the proper level, and I can look up and see the hat, and if I need to interact with the hat, I've got my mouse and keyboard at the UL level, and it's working perfectly. Tobias said I thought this would start in 3 minutes. Yeah, but have you ever heard of rounding? It's quite important. Or so math class would want you to think that. Anyway. In all seriousness, it is 2:30 p.m. at this point in time. That was a very weird sentence tonight. Actually, it's 2:29, but by the time I finish this sentence, I can tell you herringly that it is going to be 2:30. So, we're gonna start this. So, if you haven't been watching during the little testing phase there where I was interacting with the hat a little bit and testing things out, this is a socially distant development livestream. Same as last week. We're working on the game again. This time around, I'm going to actually be working on something more graphical inside Unity. We're going to be working on the game's display manager. And what the display manager is basically it's a way for you to run graphical utilities inside of the game's virtual operating system. So instead of, you know, running things from the command line, sometimes you might need a graphical interface. For example, you might need a file manager, or a text editor, or even a web browser. And the display manager is what's going to allow you to do that. And we're going to be implementing that in this livestream. Now, I'm not going to do a dev update portion of this stream, because I did the dev update portion last night as a separate video, and if you haven't watched that, I would recommend watching that. But basically what I did was I created a test network in-game, and I am going to start the game just to get that network to spawn in. And there we go, we got a shell here, so I can do nmap pixelcreative.com, and there, it works. So that's basically the synopsis of last night's dev update. So for the display manager, what we obviously want to do is have some stuff going on in this little display section here, where currently there's nothing. I want there to be a tabbed interface where you can, you know, switch between different displays. At the top here, I want these buttons to be tool buttons, sort of like the Windows taskbar where I have a few things pinned, you know, my Chrome and my Spotify and all that. I want this up here to basically be those pinned items. So you can click on one and open it as your player context. And then, of course, you can run displays as commands inside the terminal if you need to, and whatever context you're connected to, if it supports graphical displays, which the player one will, you get a display on the side here, and you can, you know, interact with that document or that folder or whatnot. And of course, I want there to be the ability to unlock these tools, and of course we're going to add a Hello World tool. So that's what we're going to be working on in this stream. And I'm not sure how much we're going to get done. And I'm also not sure how much I'll be talking like Justin Trudeau in this live stream, constantly saying but... What the hell happened to the text rendering? Oh my. I have to apologize. My laptop has gone into performance mode, which is what I wanted it to do, mind you. I mean, that's perfectly what I wanted it to do. But, see, there's a problem. You hear that? Let me pause the music. Let me pause the music. I don't know if you hear that wind sound. Maybe the noise cancellation is helping it out a little. But, you see, there's a problem. That whooshing sound you might be hearing is my laptop fan. Yeah. So, needless to say, we need to be out of performance mode, like, now. So we're gonna restart the music here, and we're gonna fix that. Oh god, how do you do it? Again. Power settings. We're gonna fix this fan issue we're having here. We're gonna go back to balanced. Alright. Gonna listen to see if it clears up. This didn't happen in the last stream, but then again... And see, that's the big problem with these gaming laptops, is... they have a lot of cooling issues. And we're experiencing that right now. So, what I was saying, what happened to the text rendering? What happened to the text rendering is you're getting a mix of, oh god. Okay, we're gonna have to stop the game. You're getting a mix of it being really, really high resolution in-game, and me zooming in with the magnifier, and Unity scaling down that resolution. There's really no way to fix that in the editor. It's not going to be like that in the main game, don't worry. But the way we get around that when I'm doing dev updates is I maximize the game window, and then that fixes all of the text rendering issues. You can see that it's a little more clear. And, you know, it's way less blurry. Actually, that time right here, the time could have a little bit of a bigger font size, not gonna lie. But anyway, we're gonna start with this whole display manager thing. Alright? So how does the display manager work? First of all, we need to create a display manager system. And what that is it's gonna be a global system that exists inside of the game at all times and lets you open windows. That's all it does. And you know, there's gonna be a user interface that responds to these events when you open and close a tab, and you know, changes the UI to reflect that. And what do you know, my laptop is way quieter now. Along with a display manager system, it might be ideal to have a custom tool asset that we can go ahead and define the names and the icons and the actual UI of a custom tool of a display, and you know, those will be what you can unlock and what you can launch. So I think we're going to actually start there with the custom tool asset. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, under scripts, we're going to go into core, and then we're going to go into what is it? Custom assets. Asset types. And we have character asset. And for some reason that's all we have? What? There should be more in here. Let me pull from source control. Already up to date. Okay, that's weird. Let me just make sure that custom network is a thing. Yeah, it is. Okay, so I just remembered, or I just misremembered where I had put it. Okay. That scared me. That would have meant that my code is in an interdimensional rift where the features are implemented, but the code behind them is not there, and that would have scared the hell out of me. That has happened a few times in Restitched, actually. Which is terrifying. Especially when you realize that I'm not the lead developer of Restitched, but I am the lead developer of Socially Distant. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and create a new class. Custom tool. And custom tool is going to be a scriptable object. Oh, that's right, it's at, what is this dialog box? Don't ask again, and no. What did I do? Why is there no code in here? It should start with some boilerplate code. What? A writer is being drunk today, okay. What we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna put this... We have to actually write a C# file completely from scratch. This is so weird. Alright, so we're gonna put that in the core.assetTypes namespace. And then what we're gonna... What? What is even happening right now? What is happening with the code completion and everything? It's all borked. We're gonna create a new scriptable object of type, custom tool. What's gonna happen when I hit tab? Okay, that time it worked. Alright. Alright. And to get this out of the way, I'm going to create an asset menu under data assets / custom tool. And there we go. We have a custom tool asset. Now we're going to start defining the actual asset properties of the scriptable object. Tobias says, I don't know, it didn't have boilerplate the last time I used it either. But it should have boilerplate. Not Unity boilerplate, but when I create a class, it should at least create the class definition. That's strange. Anyway, we're gonna define all the different properties here. So, of course, custom tool these custom tools are going to be created as windows, so they need to have a name. And we'll also give them an icon. And we're also going to need to provide a rect transform prefab. Custom tool UI. And then we're also gonna go ahead and define some helper, or not helper, but gameplay attributes here for this asset. The first one is going to be is unlocked by default. And if that's checked, obviously you'll be able to have this tool unlocked by default. And that's helpful for things like the file manager and the text editor, things that you should always have. And likewise, we're going to add another one, is pinned by default. And that, if it's true, then there will always be a pinned tool icon in the status bar. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is make sure that we mark these all as serialized field. There we go. So now they're exposed to the Unity editor. And, Tobias says, nah, I would prefer to not have Unity boilerplate. It's faster to write with autocomplete. Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, most of the time I don't need a void start and a void update. In fact, in Socially Distant, most of your initialization code should be done in void awake. And in void start, that's when you actually start communicating with other gameplay systems. And then in void update, you should only define that if you actually need something to happen every frame. And this is a hacking game, so the vast majority of time you don't need anything happening every frame. You can mostly get away with a lot of that stuff being done in a coroutine. The only exception is really the shell system and the terminal. Those have per frame operations, and Society has a per frame operation to update the current game time. I don't think there's anything else that needs it. So I don't need boilerplate creating that function for me. Almost never need that function. Anyway, with this scriptable object here, what we're going to go ahead and do is expose these properties as read-only to the game's public API. So we're going to create these as read-only properties. So custom tool name. And this is the way you really should be doing things in Unity. A lot of tutorials will tell you to create these as public, writable variables. And I'm here to tell you, as a programmer for like 10 years at this point, don't do that. Use properties. Never ever expose public fields unless you absolutely have to. Use the serialized field attribute and use properties, please. Anyway, I'm gonna expose the icon. And we're going to expose those, or the we're not going to expose the prefab actually. We're going to expose the is unlocked by default. And we're going to expose the is pinned by default. Is punned by default. Oh my god. Now, what are we going to do about that prefab? Actually, we're going to do nothing. Because, actually, we are going to do something about that prefab, but what we're not going to do is just outright expose the prefab like this. We're not going to do this because, first of all, we might not be able to guarantee that this is actually set. And second of all, this opens you up to being able to destroy the asset with the object.destroy method, and that breaks things. I would say get private set, Tobias, but in Unity you actually can't expose a property to the editor. I've tried that and it doesn't work. So what I tend to do in this case where we need to serialize these fields and have them display in the inspector, I have them as private fields, and they're serialized. So the inspector can edit them, but the actual in-game API can't. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I don't want mods and custom stories and stuff like that that may have custom scripts associated with them modifying the core game assets. They can create game assets perfectly fine, but they can't modify them, and that's how it should be. There's never a scenario where you need to actually modify something like this outside of the editor. But anyway, what we're about to do with the whole prefab thing is we're actually going to create a method, and this is the really cool thing about scriptable objects that I really like, is we're going to create a method that actually creates that prefab for us, given some arguments. And that's what the command system does too, but we're not going to deal with that just yet. We're not going to worry about the prefab or anything like that, how we're going to create that. We just need this asset to work, and, you know, if we go into Unity after my laptop decides to be fast, we're going to have a custom asset type now. And holy crap, I didn't make a single compile error. Great. So I should be able to now go in and say, go into the assets folder, and this is why I hate Unity. I love Unity, but I hate its UI. Why do we get a modern dark theme, but still get this crappy, awful looking light theme context menu? Why? It's not hard to skin a context menu when you write a game engine. Anyway, we're going to create this custom tools folder. And next, what we're going to go ahead and do is create a new custom tool. If I can find the data assets section. We're going to call it Hello World Tool. And we're going to pin it by default and unlock it by default. And there we go, we've created a tool. Unity boilerplate doesn't have private modifiers? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's gross. Anyway, so now we're at the point where we have a data asset. And a stupid magnifier window that never goes away. Windows, why do you do this? No, go away! I want my rider, there we go. No, I don't want a command prompt. Every now and then, Windows tends to forget the Alt-Tab order, and it's annoying. I don't know why it does that. I hate it. I don't know why the magnifier needs to be a window. Like, why? Most people who use magnifier learn the hotkeys real quick. Anyway, we have this custom tool asset here, which is great. But now we need an actual system to load this in. So, how are we going to set that up? Well, we're going to set it up in the core, first and foremost. Displays. Now, when I create this, I'm going to create a mono behavior for the actual display manager. right? Or really, I'm not going to create a mono behavior, I'm going to create a standard class called display manager. I'm kind of scatterbrained right now, but you'll get what I'm getting at real soon. Okay, so we have this class, display manager, and this is our display system inside Unity. So we're going to actually have a void, or not a void, a custom tool array here. Not void awake. Public display manager. And all we're gonna do is load these tools in. Wait, what? That was not what I wanted. I forgot the underscore at the start of here. When you're not using serialized variables in socially distanced codebase, you should put an underscore in front of them if they're private. And that's a coding standard that I've kind of decided on. Anyway, we're going to do Unity helpers dot get assets of type. Fun fact, Unity helpers is also where must-get component and everything is. Anyway, we're going to do custom tool. There we go. So, what we effectively need here... Actually, we don't even need to load in these... Actually, yes, we do. I forgot. How do we get this class into Unity? Because it's a standard system object. We can't just, you know, add it as a script. We need some way to, you know, treat this as a script and be able to access it. Your first inclination might be to do private static display manager underscore instance, and then public static display manager instance get. If underscore instance equals null, instance equals new, or display manager return instance, and you've built a singleton. And now I hate you because you've built a singleton. Singletons are banned in, funnily enough, both Restate and Socially Distant ban singletons, and there are many reasons why. Now, singletons on their own aren't necessarily bad. If you know how to use them and you use them correctly, they're great. But there's a big problem with singletons in Unity, and the big problem is that with a traditional singleton, you can prevent people from creating instances of it on their own by doing... not that. Doing this. Creating a private constructor. Now nobody but this class can construct itself. And that's the basis of a singleton. You can only have one instance. But in Unity, you can't do that with a mono behavior, because mono behaviors don't have a constructor that you can just, you know, hide. They need to be constructible, no matter what. And you also can't have parametered constructors, but that doesn't matter anyway, because you can't have parametered constructors in a singleton either. And the problem with that is, since you cannot hide the constructor in Unity mono behaviors, you cannot actually reliably prevent someone from adding multiple instances of a singleton. And that fundamentally breaks singletons. So what we do is we create singletons without the problems of singletons. So what we're going to do is we're going to use scriptable objects to accomplish this. What Socially Distant has is a special type of abstract scriptable object type that's literally just a holder. It contains a single instance of whatever class you want. It can be a mono behavior, it can be a normal class, it can be anything, as long as you can, you know, create that class somehow. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom derivative of that scriptable object type for our display manager. And we're going to call it display manager holder. And we're going to inherit from scriptable holder of type display manager. What this lets us do is when we give it the create asset menu attribute, with the menu name of holders display manager. What this lets us do is inside Unity it lets us create a scriptable object of this type, which is, you know, fine, that's great, that's something we have to do. We're going to move this to its own class so that it can actually exist inside Unity. It's very finicky about multiple classes per file, for good reason. Instead of Tobias in the chat says, instead of singletons in socially distant, we use a single instance of a scriptable object, which is also known as a singleton. I like to call them a scriptable singleton, to be honest, and I might actually rename the class to that, because that really is what it is. It's a scriptable singleton. But there are benefits to this. First of all, Unity manages the singleton for us. There can only be... Well, there can technically be multiple instances of the singleton, but generally there's only one, because a developer actually has to go in and go into the core here and create that asset, and then needs to assign that asset to anything that needs access to it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is exactly that. We're going to create the display manager scriptable object. It's scriptable singleton. And that can be done by going to create holders and display manager. You can see there's a whole load of those holders in the game right now. So there's our little scriptable object, and what we have to do now is we need to create a class that actually instantiates the instance that we need. And what we do is we create a mono behavior called display manager bootstrap. And it's called that because its only purpose in life is to sit in there at the beginning of the game, and on its awake method, it's going to take a reference to the display manager holder. Like so. That's going to be a serialized reference. It's going to take this reference, it's going to assert that it's not null, it's going to say, hey, I'm starting the display manager. And it's going to start the display manager. That's the only purpose of that class. And, you can create another scriptable object, but the thing is you're gonna have to convert every game system to use that object, and that's gonna be annoying as hell to do. So, the simple fact is, don't do that. There's technically nothing stopping you, but it's a lot more reliable than using singletons like you normally would in Unity. Anyway, what we're gonna do is, in mandatory scripts here, we're gonna create a new game object. So, right click,
create empty. I'm considering this a mandatory script because we need the display mount here for the game's in-game OS to function. Well, we don't technically need it, but we need it because I said so. And we're going to create this display mounted hair object here, and I'm going to assign it that display mounted hair bootstrap class. Which didn't compile. Why didn't it compile? Because it's not in its own file, that's why. There we go. Anyway, we're gonna add the display mounted hair bootstrap, and now we need to give it the reference to the display mounted hair singleton here, which we will. And we're gonna drag that object as a prefab because we might need to add to this later on, and anything that uses it should get that addition. And then, under scenes, we're gonna reload the main menu. And we should be able to look in the log and see the game starting to display mounted here. So I'm gonna clear out the log and start the game. I'm doing this on a touchpad, okay? And you should be able to scroll up a little bit and see hey, I'm starting to display mount it here. Right here, we can see that. We could do it in the on enable, but I don't think there's any other reason, or any reason to do that over, over awake. I mean, unless on enable initializes before awake, I don't think it does. So that might actually solve a bit of, or a few bugs, if it does. But anyway, see what we can do now is, now that we have that gameplay system initialized, is we can go into the not main menu scene, the shell scene, and you can see this is the main game UI. This is where all of the windows and everything are. We can actually go in here and scriptable objects don't have awake. The reason I don't do it in the holder itself is because, just because that scriptable object is being used somewhere doesn't mean I necessarily want to have that gameplay system be active. What I mean by that is, let's say that I'm adding a new feature to the game that I don't want to be tied to anything else, but let's say I'm adding like a
a Discord-rich presence system. And I might only want that to run in a test scene. But I also might want the rest of the game to interact with that Discord-rich presence system to go ahead and say, okay, I'm now playing a mission. I might not... I might not want that Discord-rich presence system to initialize right away as the game starts up. I might only want it to initialize when I'm testing it out. So having the holder itself initialize the gameplay system becomes a problem because I might have other gameplay systems using that holder to get a reference to the object. But because I don't have that gameplay system initialized yet, I can do a null check to see if it's enabled at this point, but I don't know. Maybe it only calls on enable under certain circumstances, like maybe it calls it on the engine initializing, which would be a problem. Maybe it calls it when the scriptable object is first used, which is also a problem. Having a separate bootstrap script allows me to go in and initialize it whenever I add that script to the scene, instead of just when the scriptable object is being used. I am already initializing it at game startup, but perhaps a better explanation of why I'm doing it this way is we can swap out bootstrap scripts without having to swap out the actual game object. See, what I could do is... oh god, that was the wrong computer. I'm getting all confused with my mouse and keyboard here. What I could do is... let's go back to the example of... no, let's start a new example. Let's say we're working on the customization system and the modding system, and this build of Socially Distant is going on Steam. I might want an instance of the modding system that integrates with Steam Workshop if you're running a Steam build. However, if you're running an itch.io build, obviously the Steam Workshop isn't exactly going to be there. It's a different platform altogether. So I might want to swap out in that specific build for a different instance of the modding system that has all the same features, but instead of using Steam Workshop, it uses whatever itch.io would have. Or maybe it uses some other system that I create. Who knows? But either way, having the game system be initialized by the Bootstrap script means that if I, say, want a Steam Workshop modding system, I can just put a Steam Workshop Bootstrap script in there. If I want an itch.io modding system, I can put an itch.io Bootstrap script. And the rest of the game will be completely, woefully unaware of what's going on. It's just gonna see, I have a modding system, I can use that modding system, let's use that modding system. Another example would be a player manager. I might want to have the player manager be responsible for initializing the shell. But of course... actually, no. I'm trying to think of something that I wouldn't actually do in Socially Distant. We're not going to have multiple shells, so scratch that. Another example would be a presence manager. So what that is in Discord, you go in and you look at a player's profile and you see that they're playing Socially Distant, or they're developing something in JetBrains Writer, or they're, you know, leaking Restitch source code. That's a self-deprecating joke. That's a joke of how I used to accidentally have my rich presence active on Restitch. We don't talk about that anymore. I might want to have a presence. Let's say that I was developing a game for a console and PC. On PC, I might want to have a presence system for Discord, or Steam, or whatnot. On console, for example, if I were developing a PlayStation 5 game, I might want to use PSN presence instead. Or if I'm on Xbox, I might want to use their equivalent. Or Nintendo, their equivalent. Or a phone. I might want to use some Android presence that I don't think exists. Or an iOS presence that I don't think exists. Either way, depending on what environment I'm in, I might want the Bootstrap script to be different. Initialize a different version, different variant of the gameplay system. And Bootstrap scripts make that a lot easier than just initializing the system inside of the scriptable object. Anyway, where was I? So, Tobias says that it calls on enable when a scriptable object is loaded. Okay. So, immediately on first use. Yeah, see, I don't want that, because yeah, like I said, I might want to swap out different gameplay systems for different variants. Anyway, we're gonna get back on track here. We can go into this whole hell scene here, and what we need to do is we need to create a user interface system for managing all of the different displays. So what we have here is we have our tile layout, and we have the bottom area. That's where the terminal and everything is. We have the multi-tool section, which is actually the display section. What we're going to go ahead and do is, on the multi-tool section, we're going to create a new script for it. So under UI, where's UI? There's UI. I'm going to create a new folder under UI. Multi-tool. I hope I spelled that right. Looks like I did. Alright, so under multi-tool, I'm going to create a multi-tool controller class. Multi-tool controller. Okay. And it's going to, of course, inherit from mono behavior. And we're going to take in a few references here. First of all, we're going to take in the display method here. I think that's a pretty obvious one that we need. Oh god. That's annoying. I thought that I had actually fixed that. The weird formatting. I could use #if, but no, I'm not gonna use preprocessor directives. This is not C++. And I say that because C++'s preprocessor is a lot more flexible than C#'s. C# is a dumpster fire. And I don't want to litter my codebase with preprocessor directives. No. Just no. If I'm making a Steam build, I'll drag the Steam Workshop prefab in for its mandatory script. If I am making an itch build, I'll drag the itch prefab in. That's how I want to do it. Anyway, the next reference we're going to need is the society. Oh my god, can we please not have this be a default feature of Rider? Can we please not inline our fucking attributes? Please. We might want to discuss this after the stream. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to discussion, but honestly, I don't want to I don't want to abandon the whole idea of a bootstrap and holder system. It's really elegant, it works well. It's flexible. Plus, another thing it allows, and this is actually used in-game in some areas, is parametered constructors. Normally with a singleton you don't get those. But some systems in Socially Distant require parameters in their constructors. And the Bootstrap script can provide those parameters. You can edit them in the inspector. Inline attributes for the win. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. The two things you don't want to inline around me. Attributes and curly braces. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit distracted here. We're gonna go ahead and create this void awake, and we're gonna assert those gameplay systems are not null. Okay, so another thing we're gonna need is a reference to the client area. And we're gonna need a tabber. And we're going to use mustGet component to get that tabber. Because I can guarantee that it's there. And as far as the other transform there that we need, and oh god, is my laptop ever dying right now. I'm actually going to serialize this field. Okay, so we have access to our tabber and our client area and all of that. Now we're going to go ahead and assign the script and everything we need for the multi-tool controller. Okay. So we're going to give it its gameplay system references. Like so. And then for the client area, we're going to go ahead and select the client area inside of the scene. Or no, we're not, because it's giving me 17,000 client area references, and I have no idea which one's which. So I'm just gonna drag one over. There we go. Alright, Vaden says, alright, I'm a head off. See ya. See you later. Okay, so now we have that gameplay system initializing, or not that gameplay, but this UI controller's initializing. Multi-tool is awake. Now, under Start, we're going to need a few things. First of all, the Start method is going to be what actually spawns in default tools. So that'll be, or not default tools, but if, for example, if there's a tool open in the game, and then we leave the game scene behind, we're obviously going to still have that tool open. Actually, no, we're not. I stand corrected. What I was gonna say is, if there's any tools open at this point, then the start method would go ahead and spawn them into the UI. But we're not gonna do that. What we are, however, gonna do is we're gonna go into the display manager itself, and what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're going to set this up so that multi-tool and display manager are swappable through Control-Tab. There we go. And I'm going to create a method that takes in so it's going to be called openTool, and it's going to take in a custom tool asset, and it's going to take in a context. And the context is, it could be the player, it could be an NPC. And we're going to first of all assert these values. And what I'm going to do is so there's two things to know here. First of all, what we're not allowed to have is multiple tools of the same type on the same context. So you can't, for example, have a file manager or two file managers open on the player context, because that's going to get hard to manage after a while. Actually, no. What we can do is we can have single instance tools. So what we're going to do is under custom tool, we're going to say, and we're going to add a new private bool is single instance. And we're going to serialize it and make sure that we expose it. Oh god, I cannot type today. There we go. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to make it so that we can actually track what tools are open. So, we're going to have a list in here. Of opened tools. Now, what's an opened tool? That's going to be a private class. And what it's going to have is it's going to have the context. It's going to have the tool asset. And it's going to have the associated UI. And there we go. And all we're going to do is we're going to say, if the tool is single instance, then we're going to grab the instance that's already open, if there is one. And that's going to be a link query from opened tools. No, open tools. we're going to grab the first object or the default value, which is going to be null. We're going to grab the first object where the asset is our tool, and the context is the context that's going to be running this program. If we get an actual instance, then we're going to say switched to tool dot invoke. That's going to be an event, and actually this class is going to be that class is going to be public. I'm going to make it public because I'm fun. And that's going to be an event that actually says, okay, we've actually decided to give this tool focus, and the UI is going to respond to that. Of course, we can't have a private class directly in a namespace, so I'm going to make this public. And I'm going to create that switch to tool event. Alright. So that's our single instance tool feature finished. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create the UI for this tool. Tool.createUserInterface. That's going to be a function that we create right now. And all this is going to do is say if the custom tool UI is null, we're going to return null. And actually we're going to log that we have no UI. Custom tool name doesn't have any UI. Otherwise, we're going to return object.instantiate custom tool UI. And that's going to create an instance of that prefab. So, now that we have that set up, what we're going to do is, after we create that UI, we're going to check if we actually got a UI. So if we didn't, we're going to return. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create the new opened tool. And the open tool is going to have our asset. It's going to have our context. And it's going to have... what else does it need? It's going to have our UI. We're going to add it to the opened tools list. Oh god. Oh, that weird chime sound you heard, that was my phone going off. It likes to do that sometimes. It's really fun like that. Anyway, I had to pause for a sec there, but we're back. What we're gonna do now is, now that we've added the tool, we're gonna fire off a tool opened event. I swear, I cannot type. What is a ppend tool? And we're gonna say switch to tool. Open tool. So that's going to mean that we can open a tool, and then it won't necessarily be the active tool. Now, of course, we're gonna need a way to mark a tool as closed. And that'll come later. We'll worry about that when we need to worry about that. So now we can go back into the multi-tool controller here, and we can respond to those events inside of awake. Now I can guarantee that by this point in the code, the custom tool manager will be alive and ready to go when we get this awake, because this object is only created inside of the hell scene, and the hell scene isn't loaded when the main menu is loaded. It's only loaded after the game has bootstrapped itself, and a save file is loaded. So we're good to go. So we're going to respond to the tool opened event. And we're also going to respond to the switch to tool event. On switch to tool. And then we're going to respond to the tool closed event. Alright. So the next thing that we need to do is actually make sure that we stop responding to these events when our object is destroyed. So void on destroy. Now, don't necessarily need to worry about this in this build of Socially Distant because we're not going to be able to load out of the main game UI, but for the future, this is important. Anyway. I'm going to remove all of these throw new not implemented exceptions. And now what we need is we actually need a way to create a tab. So I believe the tabber has a way to do it. Tabber.add tab. How do I create a tab? What is a tab? Oh god. Cursor blinking intensifies. Yeah, see, I'm trying to figure out... I can't remember how the tabbing system works in this game. I really can't. You would think that me having written the tab system, I would know what the tab system would be like. Wait, am I? You guys can hear me, right? I'm gonna assume that you can, because, you know, OBS is telling me. I think this is a lot better of a way to do the live stream, having my laptop be the one that I record. Anyway, tabbers. Oh god. Tab manager. And it's an abstract class? What? Apologies for the quick break. Needed a little quick break there, that's all. I'm back now, though. Yes, you can hear me now, because I clicked the button. What was I doing? That's right, I was studying the tab-mounted hair class. First of all, why does this do this in void start? Oh god. Worst timing ever. Okay, I think I have an idea of what we need to do here. Oh my god. You know what's really great when you're trying to do a live stream and reading code at the same time while listening to music? Random dog barking noises. Anyway, so we need to add a new tab. But how do I add a new tab? That's the question. Var tab equals... What? What is this even smoking? What drugs is this code on? I'm having so much trouble comprehending this code. Var tab instance equals tabber.spawn tab. What does spawn tab do? But then what the hell does add tab do? Why is that a public method? Oh my god. Okay. I know how to do it now. I know what I'm doing. Okay. I needed to read that code a little bit to figure out how it was working and how it was accomplishing the tabbing system, and I know how to do it now. So what we need is... We need a custom tab class. This is gonna inherit from tab. Multi-tool tab. And multi-tool tab is gonna contain the opened tool. We're gonna just store that reference. Of course, we're gonna assert it. Not that I expect any of these to be null. And then what we're gonna do is... how do I set the name? So the name is going to be tool.asset.custom name, okay. Tag is going to be the tool tag, or is going to be the tool asset itself? No. What? Alright, we won't worry about tag then. Wait, what am I even doing? Okay, this is a mono behavior. Why is this a mono behavior? Okay. Maybe I don't know enough about this. Or don't know as much about this as I thought I did. Alright. Let's look even further into this whole tab system, because I don't know about you guys, but it's confusing as hell to me, and... see, what we have is this public class hosted tab, and it's all well and good. Where does it add the tab, though, to the tabber? Okay, I need to look at the usages for that add tab method, because I'm so confused as to why there's a spawn tab and an add tab. There's obviously a usage. Okay. That makes more sense. This is spaghetti code. It's called by tab.onEnable. Okay, beats me. Not sure why it does that, but now I know what we're doing. So, when we open a tab, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna create a new instance of this multi-tool tab. And we're gonna have the multi-tool, or the opened tool reference in here. We're also going to have the tab itself. And then the constructor is, of course, going to take in these values. Okay, so multi-tool tab, it's going to take in a tab reference, and it's going to take an open tool. We're going to assert these, of course. Store them. And then, of course, we're going to expose them as read-only. Yes, I know there's get private set. Shut up. I don't care. I really don't care. Anyway, so there we go. We're going to expose those. And then we're going to create a list of these. Okay. Now, when we open a tool, we're going to create okay, so on tool opened, we're going to create a tab. Var tab equals tabber dot spawn tab, and then tab.text is going to, we're going to set that later. Actually, we're going to create the tool tab to be a new multi-tool tab. We're going to give it tab and tool. Okay, so we've added the tab. And then what we're gonna do is inside of the constructor here. I know this is gonna be very weird and dumb, but I'm gonna set all the values in here. So tab.text equals tool.customToolName, or .asset.customToolName. Right? And then later on we'll set an icon. I have to apologize for my excessive hiccuping. Alright, so now... Oh my god, hiccuping. Oh. Apologies. When we switch to the tab, we're going to look for or when we switch to a tool, we're going to look for a tab that has that tool. Right? So we have that reference, so if we actually did get a reference, what? Okay, how do I set the active tab then? That's something I need to know. Either way, what we'll go ahead and do is go ahead and I really hope I can set a null transform as a parent. Can you do that in Unity? Current tab, so that's going to be a variable. What the hell did I just do? That was weird. So now we have a way to switch to tabs, that's good. Now for removing the tab, we're just gonna grab the right instance, so the right multi-tool tab here, and all we're gonna go ahead and do is say if current tab is equal to tab, and current tab is equal to null, we're going to destroy the tool UI. And then we're going to remove the tab from the tabs list. And then, of course, from the tabber itself. That was my phone again. Okay, so I've destroyed the tool tab. Great. Plot twist, I'm actually getting pinged and restitched, and they're like really mad that I'm not responding, but kinda can't right now. As much as I would really love to, I kind of can't. So at this point in the game, if the current tab is null, that means that we've lost the current tab, and we need to switch to something else. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to switch to I'm not actually sure. Alright, so we're going to grab the index of current tab, and if the index... Okay, and then I'm going to switch us to the index that's before it. So that's going to get us the previous tab, and if that ends up being below 0, we're just going to set to 0. Takes a lot of focus to get right. So that's going to tell us to switch to an index after we've destroyed the tab. And we'll handle that logic later on. Okay, I have found the source of the weird noise you guys have been hearing. I have been getting DMs on Discord. That is why. And in fact, I joked earlier that Restitch wanted to ping me. They did. They did ping me. So we're gonna back out of that. There we go. Now, I can neither confirm nor deny what that was about, but boy do I have a night ahead of me. Anyway, so, we're gonna handle the current tab logic and everything like that soon. We have a tab manager now for the display manager. We have one. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we are going to go back into Unity, make sure all of this compiles. And no, it doesn't, so we're gonna fix some compile errors, do a little code cleanup pass here. That is strange. This is one of those weird voodoo compiler errors where, like, it's not real. It's just complaining about a class that hasn't been saved. Thanks, Unity. Really love you. You're a really great game engine. You know, most language compilers don't run into this issue. I see significantly less compiler errors now, as soon as I save that one file. How is this an error? Oh. Double equals instead of a single equals there. Okay. Okay, so we've got compiling working now, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch back to the main scene. And we're gonna test this whole thing out. And then I'm gonna show you guys debug menus and how to write those, so that we can go ahead and load in test UI scenes. So we're gonna load the main menu, and that's gonna save the project. There we go. And if all goes well, we should be able to run the game. I always hit Control S after I edit a file, but the thing is, or actually I hit Control S whenever I'm done writing the code and want to switch back into Unity, but it doesn't save everything that's changed. And then I get those weird compiler errors, and it's like, what? Why do you do this, Unity? But anyway, we should be able to look at the log right now, and we shouldn't see any errors or anything like that with the tabbing system. But we don't have any displays that we can open. We don't have any way to open those displays. So this is where a debug menu comes in. We're going to create a debug menu for opening these displays, and it's going to be fairly easy. See, all we need is we need to go into the dev menu code here, and we need to create a new folder for displays. I need to really organize the source code of Socially Distant eventually. It's a huge mess right now. But we're gonna add displays folder, and under there we're gonna add an open display menu. right? And this open display menu is going to inherit from iDeveloper action, or iDeveloper option. And the name for this menu is going to be open a display. It's not going to have any children. And what it will have is a how GUI method, which will inherit from, or which will implement. Like so. Now, what we need to do is go ahead and create a constructor, public, open display menu, or open display menu, yeah. And we're gonna need two gameplay systems for this. Now, because this is a debug menu, we need to take them in as hard references. So, we're gonna need the society, and we're gonna need the display manager. And the reason we're gonna need them is because the society is what gives us our player context. So we're gonna need access to that player context in order to open a display menu on it. Now, displays don't use the player context yet, but we're gonna need it eventually. So we're gonna take in these values here, and then we're gonna store them, you know, like usual, like we always do. Oh god, that's not what I wanted to do at all. There we go. Now, what we're gonna do is under how GUI, we're going to loop through. Actually, we're gonna need to load all of those assets too. So we're gonna do that, we're gonna store that array. Now I know we're loading it internally inside of the display manager, but again, this is debug code, it doesn't matter. So we're gonna load those assets in, and now we can loop through these assets. And we can say if GUI layout button, and we're gonna give it the name of the tool. If this check passes, this means that we've clicked the button. So we can go ahead and say var context equals society.value player, or equals, yeah, we're gonna create a new context for the player. Equals new context, and it takes in a society, so by default when you create a new context like this, it's gonna take in the society, but it's gonna give you a player context. So this is a player, and then what we go ahead and do is we say, displays a value open tool, we give it the tool and we give it the context, and the game does the rest. So that's our debug menu. Now all we need to do is expose this debug menu to the developer menu. That's fairly easy to do. All we need to do is under developer menu, first of all, we are going to need to take in a reference to that display manager holder because it's a dependency of the menu. So, display manager holder displays we're gonna make that, no, not that. We're gonna make it a serialized field. And then, under awake, we're gonna assert that. Okay. And once we've asserted that value, under start, we can go ahead and add the menu to the root menu list. Passing it a reference to society. I don't know why I double-clicked that, and displays. And then, once we're back in the main menu, we can go into the debug bootstrap prefab and go ahead and assign that gameplay system to it. And go back into the main menu. And we go into the debug menu with the grave key. I'm considering renaming this to a grave menu. Or graveyard, who knows. But you can see that there's now an open a display button. If we go in there, we're gonna see nothing because there's not enough resolution on my laptop for it to display properly. God damn it, Unity. We're gonna make it a full screen game this time. And then we're gonna go back into that debug menu. Open a display. And you're gonna see right there, there's the Hello World display. However, if I try to run it, it gives us an error saying that it doesn't have any UI. Actually, I think that's a completely different error. I think there was actually an exception, and that's not great. Yeah, I see a null reference exception. I also smell a laptop fucking wanting to kill me because I'm running some heavy code on here. Yeah, see, what happened here is we created a context in the middle of the game not being active, so that's something we're gonna have to fix. That's actually pretty funny that we screwed that up. If society.value.isGameActive, well, if not that, then we're going to do GUI layout.label cannot open displays when the game is not active. Basic error handling in the debug menu. Okay, so we go back into that debug menu and we're going to see open a display and it's going to say, hey, we cannot do that right now. The game's not active. However, if I continue a game, go back into that debug menu, you're going to see that there is now the menu option. If I try to click it, however, it's going to say, hey, there's no UI. You can't do that. Let's change that. So we're going to get out of that UI there, And we're gonna actually go back into the shell scene. And under the player, we're gonna create okay, so we're gonna go into the tile area. The main area there, and then we're gonna go to the bottom area, multi-tool, tile, client area, and under client area, we're just gonna create a Text Mesh Pro asset. Or rather, a Text Mesh Pro label. I said asset for some reason, but Text Mesh Pro. Hello World. And as you can see, it just says new text in the middle of that tab. That's good. That's what we want. This is a dummy tool. So, we have that prefab now. So what we can go ahead and do is under Assets, we can go into Custom Tools, and then we can drag this Text Mesh Pro asset into here. We can delete it from the tab, and then in the scriptable object where we have our UI, we can, you know, drag the prefab in. It's a rect transform, so it'll be compatible. And then we've assigned user interface to a custom tool. So then we can go back into the scenes. We can go main menu. And we're gonna have to save the scene because we did modify it. And if we start playing the game, we can go into the debug menu and say open a dialog, or open a display. We can do hello world. First of all, let's note that we don't have any tools open right now. But as soon as we click hello world test, it's going to create a new tab. It's going to assign it the name hello world, and it's going to completely screw up the transform. That's great. See, that's the one downside to Unity's UI system, and Tobias in the chat, if you're still there, I don't know if you've gone to sleep yet or not, but you will also agree with me that this is annoying as hell. Yeah, this tends to happen sometimes. Ideally, what I would want is for it to actually maintain the transform, or not maintain the transform. I want it to actually, like, conform to the tile area, but, you know, it doesn't. Because God forbid the Unity UI system actually work right. But, you know, it does create a new tab, and in fact, I can prove that the entire system does work. Just gonna give the game some extra vertical space there. But yeah, we're gonna open it. Oh my god. Unity, come on, buddy. I just want that button to be on screen, that's all I want. Force it to be 16 by 9, maybe. No. No. Not gonna work. That's great. Okay, so I was gonna prove that it does actually create the text asset and everything and assign it, but it decided it wanted to be annoying. And now I have this really tiny asset view window that is completely useless to me. Tobias says, I want the new XML-based UI system to be ready soon. Well, I mean, I would agree with you, but we're using 2020.3.4, which is the same version of Unity that Restitched uses, and I did that by choice. I don't want to have to manage multiple Unity installs when switching between Restitched and Socially Distant. It's just easier for me to install the Restitched version of Unity, use that, and you know, be on my way. So we're not gonna get those new features, which kinda sucks, but oh well. But yeah, I definitely want a new UI system, seriously. I mean, it is flexible, but it's also a pain in the ass to use. Anyway, I need to figure out what to do in terms of that whole transform stuff, because that's a nasty bug. I mean, all it needs to do, all the multi-tool needs to do is go ahead and set the transform to be anchored, such that the UI fills the entire client area. So let's actually figure out how to do that. Oh, you know what it is. Wait, no, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to set anchored position to be vector 2, 0. Anchor min is going to be new vector, or is going to be vector 0. Anchor max is going to be new vector 2, or vector 2, 1. Yep, so like that. Pivot is going to be vector 2, 0. And of course, scale in case that gets screwed up. Uniform, that's going to be our scale, and then size delta is going to be vector 2.0, and that should force the UI to fix itself to the size of its container. I hope. It's annoying that the engine doesn't do that automatically. Like, in Unreal, it would do that automatically, but in Unity it doesn't. Even Thundershock would do that automatically. But it worked. Yeah. So it took the text and it aligned it properly. So yeah, we have a tabbing system. Now, in fact, I can even create another one. And there's another tab there. Now, of course, clicking on the tabs doesn't really do anything in the grand scheme of things, because there's no code to handle that. But we have the tabbing system working. Now, I just realized that there's a big issue with the way this is all aligned. I don't know if there's any way to fix that. But yeah, we have yeah, the tab system is partially working. The only difference is that we don't set the active index. Now, what we do need to actually do is, when we do set an active tab, what I want the game to do is I want it to tell the tabber what the index is. And of course, up here, when we go ahead and switch the active tab, I'm going to do the same thing. That's going to set the active tab, and then this next line of code here is going to set the transform parent. So okay, so the tabbing system should be finished now. What I basically did there is I made sure that when we switch a tab, we do set the parent of the tab's user interface. That ensures that the content of the tab is actually displayed when we switch to it. And the next thing that I did is I ensured that when we actually switch to a tab, we go ahead and you'll see it happen right now. You'll see that this tab right now is the active tab. It's the only tab, so it can only be the active tab. I can't, like, deactivate the only tab. There's always going to be one active tab. However, if I open up another tab, now the previously open tab is the no longer active tab. It's inactive. But if I click on it, it's going to actually do nothing, because I don't have any way to handle the tab event. But
you know, you saw when I opened the new tab, the new tab became the active tab, whereas before it didn't. So that's good. That's pretty handy. Now, all we need to do, in terms of that whole thing where the active tab isn't updated properly when we click on a new tab, is make sure that we update the active tab properly when we click on a new tab. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So, tabber.active tab, there's no way to change the, there's no way to get an event when the active tab is changed. We're gonna fix that. We are gonna fix that. This is a classic Alkaline Thunder song. Oh my god. Come on. I know where I'm looking. Alright, active tab changed. So, we're gonna create that event. So I'm actually adding to tabber code. This is great. So public event action active tab changed. So this event is going to fire whenever a new tab is selected by the player. So we're going to respond to that event. Okay. We're also going to make sure that we stop listening to that event whenever we are destroyed. Also, welcome back, Tobias. I am sort of late in announcing that, but you're back. It's awesome. So when we get this event here, what we're going to go ahead and do is grab the tool tab that has the related tab. Okay, so now that we have this tool tab, we're going to check that first it's not null, and that second it's not the current tab. And if it's not the current tab, then what we're simply going to do is we're going to, you know, say on switch to tool. And then we're going to say tool tab dot tool. That should work perfectly. I hope. Didn't work fully, but it should work now. No, there's a compiler error. Great. I love compiler errors.
Okay, so that's good to go. So let's give this a try. Open a display. Hello world display. So we get the tab. Cool. Now it's really hard to tell whenever we have the same tab type open, but hopefully you get the idea. So yeah, let's try creating something else. Maybe we'll create another prefab here. This time we'll create an image. Why not? So we'll start by going into that assets folder that we need to be in, the custom tools. And under main menu, there's going to be a logo for socially distant. And, you know, that's pretty normal. We're going to duplicate that. Logo test. We're going to drag that down as a prefab. You know, we're going to create a tool that's literally just the socially distant program, or socially distant logo, sorry. And then we're going to delete that from the main menu. We're going to create a new custom tool. And watch how easy this is. We've basically built the entire custom tool system at this point. We've finished it. The only thing we're missing is the ability to access the context, but that's... I'll figure that out. Nonetheless, we'll create this logo tool. All it is a little program that, you know, shows a socially distant logo. All we gotta do is drag the prefab, make sure that we unlock it. We could even mark it as a single instance if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna worry about that. Give it a title. And in fact, I'm gonna give it a logo. There we go, we have a logo. Here, I was thinking it was gonna be the Pringles. Why would it be the Pringles logo? Obviously, it would either be socially distanced main logo, or it would be Blue Trixel Creative. It's actually a thing that exists, by the way. Anyway, we should be able to see absolutely nothing. That's great. What happened? Okay, well I can see that this works, and if I click on the tab, you'll see that it does in fact switch the active UI. Now as for why it does the weird thing with the logo not showing, I don't know. That's all I can really say. That's what happens when you take random UI that's specially tailored to be in a certain environment, and then try to put it in another environment. Oh wait, the logo's there! Never mind, never mind, never mind. It's there. It's there. Just didn't notice it before. So yeah. Yeah. This works pretty freaking well. You know, you can switch between them. You can't close them yet. But you know, the system is there. And the last thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna get it giving you that, we're gonna get it to give you the context. Now, the way this is gonna work is, we're gonna spawn a component on the UI. That's basically gonna hold the context, and you're gonna need to grab it during the start method of your actual UI controller or whatever you do. Because it's not going to be available during awake. So here's how we're going to set that up. So under core displays, we're going to create a new, wait, no, this is debug menu displays. That's not what I wanted. We're going to create a new mono behavior. And that's going to be our context access mono behavior. So, public class display context. It's going to inherit from mono behavior. And I'm gonna have a set, oh god, I'm gonna have a set context method. Please tell me there's a better way to do this. Phone, stop it, please. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that you can only set this once. I really hope there's a better way to do this. Because this method, or this class, is going to give you access to the player and, you know, all the other stuff that's important for a graphical display. It's going to be on you to get access to your different gameplay systems, but what we can do now that we have this all working is when we create the UI, we create our, you know, our opened tool, and we say var ctx equals ui.gameObject.addComponent display context. And then the CTX is going to be set context, or is going to have set context called, and we're going to give it the open tool. There we go. So now we have access to that. Now I'm going to expose some things, so title text. Oh, I can't actually do that. Never mind. Okay, so what I'm actually going to go ahead and do is we're also going to knock out closing as well. So opened tool is now going to take in a reference to the display manager. And I have to do this really quickly because dinner's almost ready and I'm gonna have to leave, but let's try to do this as fast as we can. So I'm going to create a close method. Which is simply going to call manager.close. Close tool this. Now, if the tool is contained in the opened tools list, first of all, we're going to remove it. And then we're going to call tool closed, passing the tool. And that's going to cause the rest of the game system to go ahead and say, yeah, we're going to close. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is move that to its own file. Cool. And then under the display context, I'm going to expose that close method. It's an early time to eat dinner. It's 5 PM. That's not early at all. It's already nighttime, guys. Like, it is pitch black in here. The only light in this room is coming from my laptop, my Stream Deck, and my monitor. Anyway, we have that close method working. And it does hide a lot of what's going on behind the scenes, but now this means that you can attach controller scripts to your prefabs and, you know, access the context. So for example, I now have given you access to the player content. Wait, no, that's a Stack Overflow exception. There we go. I've given you access to the player data from there, and also the society. I see Big Kitty. It's 1 PM for you. Yeah, it's 5 PM for me. Anyway, we have the close method working. We have the context exposed. The only thing we're missing is UI for closing a tab, but we don't have that art passed yet, so I'm not going to do that on stream. Yeah, it does get pitch black by 4 PM, but I've always thought that 5 to 7 is like the perfect time to eat dinner, and then 8 PM is like way too late. But there are some families that eat dinner at 8 PM, and I'm like, no, that's... I either want to be programming or sleeping. I don't want to be eating that late. Anyway, so now we have basically the entire tab system working, and the entire display manager. Now, it's not compiling, that's great, but let's fix that. And then, once we fix the compiling errors, what? Oh, I know what's going on right now. There we go. That should fix that bug. Okay. After this, I'm going to share a few announcements from the community. Or, for the community, I should say. I clearly missed the memo where they changed the meaning of for and from, and they swapped their meanings. Okay. "5:30 to 6:30 is the only correct time to eat dinner." Okay, fair. But it's 5 and my parents are already going out to the Chinese place to get the dinner. It's gonna be ready soon. Anyway. So now what we have is a completely functioning display manager. We can open up this logo, we can open up the Hello World test, we can switch between the tabs. We can't close them yet. Again, that needs to be art passed first, and then we'll work on that. But, you know, there's the logo, there's the text. So what will this actually be used for? This will be used for the file manager and the text editor. Maybe a web browser, I might add that to the game. But this is going to be used for different tools that you might have access to in the game. What those tools are, offhand, not really known yet. We have to figure that out. But the system for creating them is there. And that's pretty damn good. Now, of course, this will be available in the modding SDK, do not worry. But anyway, with that said, that's going to end it for the actual programming part of this. So, as the sort of our ceremonial end to these dev streams, we're going to go ahead and commit this all to source control. So, git add everything, not it, git, not it, god damn it. Add support for custom graphical tools. We're going to push that to display manager. And I'm going to mark the tasks off in my task manager that we've completed so that I know what I need to do next. And while I'm saying this, I want to give a few announcements. First of all, if you're not on the Discord server, get on the Discord server because it's fun. But second of all, there's now an official website for Socially Distant, sociallydistantgame.com. It has not a lot of content right now, but I'm working on it, and it's going to be the main place to hear about Socially Distanced development. It'll also be where the first preview builds are posted, so do keep that in mind. Anyway, you can mark off custom tool assets. Display manager system is working. Pinned tools are not. Tool commands are not. Tool contexts are working. And of course I have the Hello World tool. So that has gotten us to 67% complete the tool system in the game. Ain't that awesome? Anyway, with that said, yeah, sociallydistantgame.com is the official website for Socially Distant now, and the first preview build is most likely going to be out toward the end of December, so probably after Christmas. Not making any promises there, but most likely it will be. That's going to be the first build where we test out the gameplay mechanics and get player feedback. It's going to be completely free. It's not going to have Steam Workshop integration or anything like that. It's just going to be straight, let's test the gameplay. It's going to even have the debug menu and everything in it, so that's going to be the first build. So get excited for that. Also, I've decided these live streams are going to be weekly. The next dev stream we're going to work on is actually to be determined. Most likely it'll be some sort of custom tool using the system we just built today. But hopefully by that point I have a basic hacking system too. So that's the plan. But anyway, that's going to do it for this dev stream. Like I said, if you're not on the Discord server already, feel free to join. aklnthndr.dev/discord, it's in the description below. As always, I'm Michael. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the dev stream. I'm going to be trying to do these weekly, of course, like I said. But that is going to do it. Really enjoyed this. This was a lot better and a lot more prepared than the previous one. Definitely liked doing it with a laptop as the main programming environment, instead of the desktop being the main. So that's going to be what I do going forward. But anyway, this is going to do it. It's been really wonderful hanging out with you guys, and I'm gonna go eat some wonderful Chinese food after I finish this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.